Hi again, everyone. I'm Ollie Matthews. This is the Narcissistic Resistance, and this resistance video is a sponsored video, sponsored by Anonymous for Rebecca. And here's Rebecca's story. Dear Ollie, I really like your analogy about the German guy missing his parents because of some good times being like your favorite meal served on a broken plate. I feel the same way about my childhood memories, and I want to air out some of them in order to come to terms with them. Like you said, adopted children are often used for the adopted families and have a sense of rejection all their lives. I believe my adoptive mother and 3 of her siblings who had infertility were desperate to have kids, and so they adopted. But I have noticed over the years that they look at children as pawns of entertainment and do not really care about their feelings. But my mother had her own child after 3 years of trying. And then she could not have any more, so she adopted my brother and I 9 and 10 years later. Adoptees learn to adjust to their new homes, but many times never form a true bond because they feel so unseen for their pain. As Nancy Verrier says, I agree that my whole life was dedicated to finding out what people around me wanted, and I was a people pleaser because I didn't know I had the right to be myself. My brother was an active and aggressive kid. My mother put everything into making him happy and seemed like the perfect mother. My father was an emotional child, and they both took pleasure in beating us when we misbehaved. When my brother and I were little, my mother used to lie with us before we fell asleep, and she always spent more time with my brother, and I was jealous. One time when this happened, I called my brother stupid, and my mother said, if you say that one more time, I will pour soap in your mouth to wash out your dirty mouth. I said it again, and she went to get the bottle of soap, even though I was screaming not to. She yanked my mouth open despite my struggles and forced soap in my mouth. I shrieked and called her a witch. She got so angry and said, really? I'm a witch? You are one disrespectful girl. I felt guilty but so angry. My older sister loved to hug and kiss us up, and did so a lot. One time when I was about 6, she grabbed me into her room full of friends and pulled down my stockings and said, look at this butt, isn't it the cutest? And slapped it, and they all laughed. I felt very uncomfortable and did not understand what the big deal was. She was always very moody as a teenager and yelled at me a lot when I wanted something and asked for it. She mocked me. She complained that I did not speak to her enough when she was married and I was a teenager. And when I told her about my hurt feelings stemming from being adopted, she shrieked that I have no right to feel sad because they raised me in the most loving home, and that she grew up with my father and had pain from his brain deterioration. I used to have recurrent dreams of my brother drowning in the bottom of a river and us finding his bones. I felt so guilty about it, so I never told anyone. He needed me and used to vent out all his anger at home from not being able to learn in school and them punishing him. I vented out all my anger in school and was quiet and perfect at home. He often screamed at my mother and she did not know what to do, so got him tutors and all the toys he could want. I was like a shadow at home and spent hours reading. One time after my mother heard that I had acted bad in school, she cornered me in my room and asked me why. I was so full of anger at her that I shrieked that she should get out and threw things. She kept persisting and cried, why are you doing this? I felt so sad and angry I threw down a lamp. She finally left to my relief. When I was 19, I went to therapy and they told me my life was a mess because my brother and feeling crazy for being adopted. I tried approaching my mother about it, but she denied my feelings, saying I was always so happy as a baby. And kid, it cannot be. I felt confused. My aunt, who adopted 3 kids, told me I had to be grateful because my mother was the most special lady in the world. I told her I felt out of place and had a hard life, and she started telling me a long story about her infertility and how she struggled, but her adopting made her happy. I did not know what one had to do with the other. This aunt offered me a job in her house with organizing her paperwork and making material for her tutoring program. She gushed about me being creative, and I felt like I had to do it. One day I sat for 2 hours going through 20 years of paperwork, and she gave me $20, and I felt like garbage. All of my aunts thought they could put kids to work like this without even asking if they wanted to. She would often overeat carbs, and her husband yelled at her to stop, but she couldn't. She went gluten-free because of sugar problems, but always overate and cheated. My mother and other aunts all had the same problem. I think seeing what an outcast I always felt like made me know that I was missing something in life. So I wanted to give it to my own daughter. I know I have a bond with her and would never ignore her pain. I think adoption is treated as so special in society, but that deep down everyone knows that it is second-class citizen for adoptees. My mother always chided me that I felt like a second-class citizen, and I thought I was crazy. But now I see that people do know it is second class to be adopted, and it makes me feel relieved. Thank you, Ollie, and all your supporters. I really appreciate your validation from the last video and read all the comments. It's nice to know I'm not alone, Rebecca. Well, I've been working with Rebecca for a while now. I've done some private. Done some private videos for. I think I just did a video for her the other day. I think it's the narcissist is never part of the solution. And Rebecca's adopted. She has other issues. I won't call them issues, but she's trying to keep this private. So there's other things going on behind the scenes that are a major factor in it. I'll just say it's religion. That plays in to a lot of this. But I'm going to focus on what your issue is here. Okay? Again, what we have is another broken plate. Okay? Rebecca was adopted. Her and her brother were adopted. She was the one. One of her sister was adopted by another family, and the teacher became her adoptive sister's mother became her teacher and abused her. So she's been getting abused since childhood, and it's not all adoptive parents are like this. Okay. But when narcissists adopt, this is what you get. You get children who are treated like pets. Okay? And when you hear things like, how good you had it as a kid and you were loved, okay, don't conflate, okay, being raised and being fed and clothed, okay, with being raised correctly. Okay? They're two different things entirely. And I'm going to keep going back to the broken plate thing. Okay? Because it is so important where you get caught up in the guilt and the anger of it. When you go back in your childhood and they try to bring up the good times. Well, the good times don't matter because they've already broken you. And once you're smashed, you are a broken plate. And it's like now you're putting those good times on top of a broken plate, and that's why you're never going to enjoy it, and you get no anger. I mean, you get no enjoyment out of it. But you're angry. You're talking about this anger you've had since you were a kid. And it's an unacknowledged anger, okay? Because you've been gaslighted about your feelings by your mother, by your sister, about feeling like a second-class citizen, when that's exactly what they wanted to treat you like. This should have been dealt with as a child, and the reason why you were angry and lashing out in school and lashing out at home is because you wanted to be loved, because your mother put all her energy into your brother, not you. You were scapegoated out and ignored. Kids want to be validated. Kids want to feel like they're loved. And when you're dealing with the adoption thing as a young child, like, and look, the thing with the family members putting you to work and all that, that's pretty common within your religion. That's pretty common. Family members using kids and putting the kids to work. It's pretty common. It's not right. It's not right. I mean, it's $20 for 2 hours. I mean, that's $10 an hour for a kid. And it's not the worst. It's not terrible. But to put a kid to work at 9 or 10 is, I don't agree with it. A kid should be playing, at a young age like that. Now, you get into the sexual aggressiveness a little bit with your sister as well. I mean, you got a lot of things going on here. If your sister's pulling you into your room and pulling down your tights in front of her friends and all that, I would wonder what else was going on with her. And if those issues as well, because that's sexually abusive. And I'm wondering if there's a level of that we haven't even gotten to yet. Okay? Because you're not blood related, it makes it a whole hell of a lot easier for them to abuse you. Makes it a whole hell of a lot easier. And when you're in a close-knit religious structure like that, it's the keep it all a secret. So you got a lot you're dealing with, Rebecca. Okay? Clearly your family has got borderlines all over it. And that's what's scary, and they're the most dangerous. You have to worry now not about whether or not you were loved then. The question is, are you loved now? Your daughter, your husband. And the answer is yeah. I mean, I've talked to Rebecca. I know Rebecca. I've seen Rebecca's daughter. I've seen her interact with her daughter. Her daughter loves her. She's a good mom. You know a happy baby when you can say all babies are. No, you know a happy baby when you see it. You know a baby that's afraid to do anything or move, and that's not Rebecca's baby. So, Rebecca's a very, very attentive and good mother. She's just been worn down and has no self-esteem. Focus on who loves you now, because the narcissist never did. And I think if you can do that, Rebecca, it's all going to be good. So, thank you to Anonymous for sponsoring. Thank you to Rebecca for writing in. I hope this helps. Thank you to everybody watching. Please leave any opinions or advice in the comment section below. And again, if you want your story read on the channel, you have a topic you'd like me to cover, a narcissist you'd like to expose, you'd like to set up Skype, a phone call, have a private video made, or a Facebook live chat, or you'd like to sponsor a video like this for someone who needs help and can't afford it, or just make a contribution to the channel in general to keep it supported, growing, and expanding, because this channel succeeds 100% on contributions from all of you. Without you guys, all this goes away. So if you like what you see here and you want to see more videos like this, you know what to do with the PayPal and email links in the description box. Also, please like and share this video wherever you can. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't, and be sure to click the subscription bell to be notified of all my video uploads. I'm Ollie Matthews. This has been the Narcissistic Resistance. Take